Well, welcome to week two. And in week two, we are really diving into the interpersonal skills that will affect you in the workplace. There's a lot of information to go over here. It's an interesting self-reflective um, week in terms of how are you going to fit in the workplace and how to read your colleagues and stuff like that. So, the first thing to do, obviously, is you're watching this video, so you're already there. There is a summary of our expectations for this. So first of all, you're going to watch that video. There are several guiding questions. You're going to read chapter 2. You're going to watch a video about the 4 personality types. You're going to read how to develop a strong work ethic. You're going to review about business communications. You're going to watch the power of nonverbal communication. This is a nice little video. And then you're going to review the summative assessment. Your assignments for this week are week 2 quiz. There is a personality and communication assignment, and then you're going to do some brainstorming for your week 4 assessment. So those are kind of what's expected for this week. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit first about individual and cultural differences in the workplace, right? So you're going to click on this text and you're going to get, this is our online free text. And I want you to read chapters 2.1 through 2.7. I'm just going to talk about a few of those things that I think are important to go over as you're learning about workplace differences and whatnot. So there are important things to understand about the individual and cultural factors and how they affect employee performance. So one of the things managers need to do is they need to be able to find the right people for the job while staying fair to everyone and following rules. There are a lot of laws that protect employees from unfair practices, but you will learn about that in your business law class, not necessarily in this class. So why is this important, right? When people's strengths match their roles, everyone tends to be a little happier in their workplace and be more productive. So once you figure out that point, you're going to be a much stronger manager. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of a key point from 2.2, employees' abilities and skills. Some people bring strong mental abilities while other bring physical skills, and actually they both matter in the workplace. So you have to know which one your teammates or your coworkers are bringing. Great teams mix together different talents and personalities so everyone's strengths work together. I think that's one of the key things, right? Is as someone becomes an employee, they might not be the best fit for the role they were intentionally hired for. You can do one of two things. You can dismiss that employee, or you can find out really what are their talents. You hired them for a reason, right? Can you move them into a different role, or can you figure out a way to motivate them for that job? Okay, the next piece is personality. So things like confidence and how much control people feel they have really shape how they work. And when managers understand these traits, they can help people to do their best in the right roles. And you're going to learn more about personalities later on in this chapter. So as it relates to work behavior, it's important. Some people really like clear rules and hierarchy. They're very much a rule follower. They want to know who to answer to, and this helps them to shape them into the employee that they want to become or that they're comfortable with, based on their personality. Others prefer perhaps a more equal or an open environment where there is no true leader or true manager, and they're going to thrive the best working with others that kind of feel the same way. I guess the best workplace structure balances that with some freedom so employees can grow and succeed. I've been involved with both over my years, and when you feel like you have an opportunity to grow, you're definitely a lot more productive. Okay, number 2.5 here, personality and organization. Employees want freedom, they want purpose, while organizations need consistency and reliability, right? So there's two things going on there. Employees want their freedom. They really want to have purpose to succeed in their positions. Employers need them to be consistent, right? They need them to be productive. Um, Good managers find a middle ground that keeps both sides happy and moving forward, right? So personal values and ethics, number 2.6 there. Um, Values guide how we act, and ethics help us decide what's right and wrong at work. When leaders model honesty and fairness, it builds trust among or across the organization. So you're going to work for some companies that perhaps they don't have the best, I guess, the best ethics or values as a company, or maybe just it's a manager or two. You're going to be in some situations, right, that maybe aren't the best. And for you, it's important to feel your way through that organization. Attach yourself to the good leaders and model that good behavior and that good fairness at work. You'll definitely be able to move up a ladder and do better with that organization if you have that kind of an attitude. And then lastly, this chapter talks a little bit about the cultural differences. This is people from different cultures see work, time, and relationships in very different and unique ways. Understanding those differences makes teamwork and communication much stronger. So, as it depends on where you work, right? In certain parts of the country, it's people are very much from the same kind of area and have the same values and beliefs. If you get into bigger cities, you're going to have it's such a diverse workplace. That's important to understand what motivates everybody, how they see that relationship between work and family and work and life, and that work-life balance. I have a friend of mine who works for a train company, and he's an engineer. And he has had to learn very much so how to understand the culture of the Chinese workplace. And he's oftentimes on phone conferences, either in the very late night hours or very early morning hours with his Chinese counterparts. They have facilities all over China. And for him, he explained this once to me, and it was very interesting. He explained how his relationship with the manager in the Chinese plant has grown over time so that they have a wonderful relationship and can rely on each other to kind of bridge those cultural differences that they're facing. So read through the rest of the chapter, and you'll be needing that information as you have a quiz later on. Okay, so then we're going to have you watch a bit on the four personality types, according to Patrick Bet David. He calls it the star system. And the four types of these personalities are structure, task, action, and relationship, and how they apply to the workplace. Knowing your employees' personality types helps managers communicate better. It'll build stronger teams, and it really helps to understand what motivates everybody, right? Everybody's motivated in different ways. Some people just want to get the job done, right? Some people totally work for relationships, and it's going through watching that video will help you to understand a little bit more about that. Okay, so then the next piece is a strong work ethic, like how to develop a strong work ethic. And there's our textbook references it, but there's also an article in here at the Harvard Business Review website. If you can't access that, or if you've used it too much this month, I just threw it in a PDF right here. So I want you to read through that. And, for business's perspective, a strong work ethic is about showing up consistency, meeting deadlines, and taking pride in your work, right? Those are the keys to a work ethic. Work ethic doesn't always mean you're working 80 hours a week, but you're just reliable. You're showing up. You're productive. You take initiative. You work well with others. There's another thing is you can learn a lot by watching how others in your workplace or your classroom operate and kind of what the expectations are. So let's look at this in kind of a business setting perspective. If you, again, I said, kind of connect with someone who has a really good work ethic and see how they work and what those expectations are and meet or exceed those expectations and learn how to do that. Building self-discipline by managing your time, setting priorities, following through on your commitments, it's all part of the work ethic. Great employers, or I'm sorry, great employees, they think like owners. They care about the team's success and not just their own, right? And an owner will take note in that. When an employee is out there and they're working to protect the company, to grow the company, to build the company with the company's best interest, a good owner will see that. And as a manager, one of your goals is to learn how to hire these types of employees, that have great work ethic and that put the needs of the company at a very high standard. Now that isn't without some issues. You might have some work-life balance issues there that you're going to have to manage with different employees or yourself. But as your work ethic grows over time, and you set a standard for your work ethic, it'll be important as you try to get better jobs and move up the corporate ladder. Or if you're owning your own business, heck, if you don't have a work ethic, you probably don't want to start doing that. So there's ways to learn it. And this little article will give you a good piece of information there. Okay. So the next one is this cool little article called The Power of, or video called The Power of Nonverbal Communication. I at first, honestly, this video for me was a little bland, but then as it went along, it was fascinating, right? And the guy that is doing this video was, I believe, with FBI and did, like 13,000 interviews and investigations over time. He became a world expert at nonverbal communication, and I love it. He gives you some really good ideas and discusses how you can use those cues to get along in the workplace and in life. So watch that. Okay. You're going to review this. This is just a review of the summative assessment. So I mentioned this, I believe, in week 1, but you're going to have an assignment in week 4 and week 7. There's 2 summative assignments here. So week 4, you'll be asked to interview 2 individuals to gain insight about workplace behaviors. So later on in this week, you're going to, at the very end, you're going to journal about who you could interview. In week 7, you'll be asked to observe employee interactions within the workplace. So you got to do some brainstorming about like where you could go to do some observations. What would be an appropriate place for you to do that? Where you're walking around, or you're sitting in a diner, or a hospital clinic, or a retail clinic, and you're observing employees interacting with each other. Okay, so that is for that piece. Okay, you're going to have a quiz. It's worth 15 points. You're going to do an assignment here, which is worth 25 points, right? And it's all laid out here. And I also created this explainer video. So just kind of a little note on these explainer videos is I create them with our content, and I create them using Notebook LM. I don't do it for every week, but I think it's a great way to kind of get an overview of what the content is. This is discussing personality and communication. Okay, so I would like you to watch this. There is below. There's a link to a Myers-Briggs personality test. Okay, and explains 16 different personalities. You're going to go ahead and take that test, and then here is your assignment where you're going to do some reflection on that. Okay. Over here, I always, I have a rubric for each one of these. It's kind of laid out based on the question 1, if your response met expectations, partially meets or does not meet expectations. That's how I grade all these, right? for each one of those different questions. So that should be very cut and dry on what those expectations are. Right. So that is your second assignment that you're going to do. Oops, sorry, popped out of there. So there's quiz. That's assignment 2.1. Assignment 2.2 is the explain your video along with the personality test. And then here's the brainstorming journal. All right. Here is the assignment. It's not worth a lot, but you're going to go ahead and a journal about those 4 to 5 people that you think you could interview, and then identify 3 to 4 workplaces where you have access to observe coworker interactions. I use this, I read every one of these, and I'll give you feedback on who I think will be a good person to interview, and then workplaces where you could go ahead and do some observations, right? Now, I don't want you all going to Walmart or Target to do those observations. That's what everybody probably would want to do. But I want you to go to a place that you have some familiarity with. It could be a car repair business that you're familiar with. It could be a business where you're, the owner. It doesn't have to be that way, but I'd like you to have some familiarity with it. Okay. I'll add the due date here after I'm done with this explainer video.